All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 94, and today, I am actually left a little bit speechless. Um, yeah. About 2 hours ago, officially, Chris Perkins, who has worked for D&D and Wizards of the Coast for 28 years, uh, retired. And that is nonsense. Um, if anyone doesn't know, I've mentioned Chris Perkins on here quite a few different times because I've had the pleasure of actually meeting him multiple times. He's probably one of the nicest people in the world. He is an extremely skilled dungeon master, an incredibly creative person, and like I said, he's been officially working for Dungeons and Dragons, according to him. And I'll read it directly from his Twitter account. Today, I retire from Wizards after 28 years. With D&D's 50th anniversary wrapping up and the revised rulebooks doing gangbusters, this is the perfect fairy tale ending for me. I can't wait to enjoy D&D purely as a fan again, knowing the game's in good hands. See you in the Feywild. Yeah, 28 years he has been doing this. So if anyone wants to do quick math, that means 97 if my math is correct. It's a long time. He has been working on Dungeons and Dragons from the genesis of third edition. He helped design for the fourth edition. He helped design for the fifth edition and was the creative director for all of the fifth edition. Um, he uh, he started Acquisitions Incorporated. He ran a very successful live play series called Dice Camera Action. That we won't get into the reasons why it ended, but it wasn't his fault. It wasn't, to be perfectly honest, it wasn't anyone involved's fault. It was a ex-wife with a vendetta. But he he was the reason a lot of people got involved in Dungeons and Dragons. Like Penny Arcade was an amazing thing that got people excited about Dungeons and Dragons. He would go out and run games specifically for fourth edition. He would go out and run games for various groups. Like if I remember correctly, I think the Robot Chicken, was that what it is? Yeah. And it still exists on YouTube. He ran people back in 2010. He ran an adventure for people at Robot Chicken. Um, he would go to conventions all the time and run games and things like that. And he is a phenomenally skilled dungeon master. Like he's just amazing. I mean, going to his Wikipedia page, he's big enough that he has his Wikipedia page. Um, I'm just going to read this. Under the pen name Christopher Zarathustra, Perkins got his career start in 1988 writing the adventure Wards of Witching Ways for Dungeon Magazine number 11. He later officially started working for Wizards of the Coast in 1997, becoming the editor for Dungeon, the magazine. A few years later, he was promoted to editor-in-chief of all Wizards periodicals. Um, I mean, the guy got his start submitting stuff to Dungeon Magazine, which, when Dungeon Magazine stopped being a thing, we lost something amazing. I still have digital copies of quite a few issues of Dungeon Magazine because it was such an amazing thing. You would get free adventures that you could run, and DMing tips and lore things. Like Ed Greenwood would regularly publish Realms lore in Dungeon Magazine. It was amazing. It was wonderful. Um, yeah, so Chris Perkins leaving Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons is massive. And from everything that I'm reading here, Chris Perkins has been kind of stepping back from Dungeons and Dragons for a while now. Like I said, he used to be everywhere. He would go to conventions. He would run celebrity D&D games. This was long before Celebra D&D and all that stuff. No, he would literally just sit down with anyone to get them excited about Dungeons and Dragons. He was the public face of the company for a while. Back in the before times, he was referred to as the DM for the stars. That's how well loved and well respected that he was. But starting quite a few years ago, he stepped back. He used to be the DM for Acquisitions Incorporated, and he stepped back, and I think Jeremy Crawford took over. He came back every so often, but he started stepping back there. Like I said, he was running. He did run Dice Camera Action for years, and then that stuff happened, and then he really just kind of stopped running games. He showed up on Critical Role and played probably one of the greatest guest characters ever. It was a little kobold, and it was great. He was just involved in so much, and every single book that came out would have something by Chris Perkins in it. I know Candlekeep Mysteries, one of the adventures was written by him. He regularly would be involved in like the anthology stuff. And yeah, I mean, just of all the stuff that has happened recently, this is the thing that has shaken me to the core. Because again, like, he got to start in 1988. That's when I was born. Chris Perkins has been creating D&D content longer than I've been alive. Like, that's nonsense. And it's over. Like, this truly is the end of an era. He has been such an amazing ambassador for Wizards of the Coast and for Dungeons and Dragons. He's been such a strong believer and advocate for the idea of Dungeons and Dragons not just being a game, but being something that people can enjoy and can kind of bond over. I remember listening to interviews and things where they talk about, like, well, when Penny Arcade or Acquisitions Incorporated was getting real big, people would ask him, why are you doing this? Like, what gave you the idea that this could be a thing? And his response was something to the effect of, well, I've always thought that Dungeons and Dragons can and should be a spectator sport. It's just as much fun to watch as it is to play. And yeah, I mean, so much of what Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop RPGs in general are today can be traced back to things that Chris Perkins did. Probably one of the most influential people in the TTRPG space. And yeah, and he's done now. And I'm not, this is not me saying shame on you, Chris Perkins, for leaving. Again, he's been doing this for 28 years. Like, he's allowed to have a 28-year-long, incredibly successful career and then go, you know what? I'd like to retire now. But damn, if it isn't saddening that we're not going to get another book that has Chris Perkins' name in the credits. I'm not going to be able to run a new Chris Perkins D&D adventure, or rather, it's not going to come directly from Wizards of the Coast. I sincerely doubt Chris Perkins is done with D&D, but he's just not going to be getting paid for them. And this could open up other things. Again, he's been working for Dungeons and Dragons for 28 years. I will guarantee he has not exclusively only ever played Dungeons and Dragons or only ever looked at. However, publicly, again, he was the face of Dungeons and Dragons for a long time. So part of me wonders, is this a new era for Chris Perkins where he's going to be able to start playing with other systems? Because now he doesn't work for Wizards of the Coast. I would sincerely doubt there would be like something in his contract that said, oh, you're never allowed to publicly play something that's not Dungeons and Dragons. But, and especially again with how loyal he's been to D&D and again, how passionate he is for it. It's not that, my understanding, again, I barely know the guy, and by know the guy, I mean we have spoken on multiple occasions, and that's it, for minutes at a time. So it's not like, I sincerely doubt if I was to go to a convention or something and Chris Perkins were to run into me, I sincerely doubt he would think anything about me. Like he would go, oh, Trader Jody, how are you doing? And that's not what it is. He does follow me on Twitter, so. But I sincerely doubt he knows who the hell I am. But yeah, I mean, this is massive. So yeah, like I said, it's sad for Wizards of the Coast, and I'm going to be 100% blunt here. It really doesn't matter who they have and how amazing they are at Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast has lost something massive. And again, this is not me going, oh, Wizards of the Coast is going to die. Nope. Chris Perkins has a 28-year-long career at Wizards of the Coast. He's been making D&D stuff and publishing D&D stuff for 37 years. Like, he is 100% welcome to go and retire and stop working for this company that he has done so much for. But there's no one that can fill his shoes. Like, I just don't think it's possible. Now, are there going to be new people that come to Wizards of the Coast and do other things that are amazing and wonderful? Absolutely. But there's never going to be another Chris Perkins. There will be someone who is new and interesting. Hopefully, there's no guarantee, but hopefully there's going to be someone new that's interesting, that's fun, that does really amazing things for Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. But there's never going to be another Chris Perkins. Ever. You just can't. He was uniquely amazing. And yeah, I had other stuff I wanted to talk about today, and I can't. I am so gutted by this. But like I said, maybe this means we get Chris Perkins Part 2. Maybe Chris Perkins now gets to dabble in things that aren't exclusively Dungeons and Dragons. Again, one of the things that I've always loved about Chris Perkins is not that he worked for D&D and therefore he promoted it. He loved, I'm assuming still does, loves Dungeons and Dragons. Like, absolutely loves the game and is incredibly passionate about it. And that's not something that happens. It's blatantly obvious that not everybody working in the Dungeons and Dragons team at Wizards of the Coast loves D&D. Like we have seen over and over and over again, there are people that are working there right now that do not like Dungeons and Dragons and would like to see it suffer. That became blatantly obvious during the OGL debacle. And it's possible a lot of those people have left. It's like Mike Merles, we've talked about before, who also left D&D a while ago. He has been going on this kind of apology tour, the thing where anyone that will have him on, he will just badmouth Dungeons and Dragons. Chris Perkins is not like that. Like he actively, passionately loved this game, and it showed in everything that he did, in every interaction that he had. And I firmly believe he also just loves people. Again, the first time I met the guy, and I recently told this story. I'm going to tell it again because it is probably uh, the greatest experience I've ever had meeting someone that I consider a hero. Gen Con, I can't remember which year it was because my brain doesn't like to remember those things. They had this event called A Night in Baldur's Gate, where what they did is they took over this like penthouse ballroom at the top of one of the hotels in Indianapolis, and they turned it into Baldur's Gate. When I say they turned it into Baldur's Gate, they literally turned it into Baldur's Gate. Like, you felt like you were walking around an actual city. It was so cool. And there was a giant cake with Drizzt and Guinevere on it. There was a giant sword, and I think Ari Salvatore was there too. Like, it was amazingly cool. It was the year that they announced the Sundering books, which were basically the literary transition from 4th edition to 5th edition. It was 5 books written by a bunch of different people. And yeah, I'm wandering around, and I'm in Indianapolis completely alone. I don't know a single person there. When I first went down there, I actually had a game that I signed up for relatively early in the day, and I didn't understand that going to Indianapolis meant I was going into a different time zone, and so I was later than I wanted to be. I went to check into my hotel, which was a cheap hotel. It was all I could afford. Massively cheap hotel. I get in there. I tried to go. I went in to get all my like sign up and get my my badge and everything like that, and I had a complete meltdown. Like, and this was before this was before I had started having really bad problems with social anxiety and my panic disorder and all that stuff. So I didn't know what was happening, but I got there and I freaked out. I just had a meltdown. I had to like hide in a corner in the convention center because I was so overwhelmed. And so I went back to my hotel and I skipped. I think the first day of the convention I was there, I just skipped everything because I couldn't handle it. The second day, I started going around and actually going to things, and it got a lot better. And I can't remember what night it was, but I remember I was just so excited to go to this thing because I was a huge D&D FIFA fan, specifically because of Acquisitions Incorporated. And I get there, and I'm wandering around this amazing place, and I'm seeing all these people, and there's this one dude in a t-shirt and a baseball cap that's just kind of wandering around. And I see him, and I instantly recognize who he is. And I'm blown away by the idea that nobody's talking to him. Because, again, in my mind, this is the most famous dungeon master in the world. And everyone else is just walking around and doing stuff. And so I just very hesitantly go up and I go, hi. And he always has a smile. And he turns to me and goes, hi. My name's Jody. And I just wanted, are you Chris Perkins? He says, yes, I am. And I just wanted to say, Acquisitions Incorporated is the reason I started playing Dungeons and Dragons. And because, we love to hear that. That's so wonderful. And I gush over him a little while, for a little bit, and I go, I realize it's annoying, but I wrote my own adventure. And I brought it, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to sign it. He's like, yeah, sure. And so I give it to him, and he signs it for me. And it was the most amazing experience. And we talked for a little bit longer, and then this other dude walks up. And this is the thing that sticks into my mind to this day. I will never forget this. No matter how Swiss cheese my memory gets, I will never forget this interaction. I'm sitting there and I'm just having a conversation with someone that I consider a hero, and he's so incredibly nice, and he's not talking down to me or anything like that. And this other dude comes over, he's like, "Hey, Chris, how are you?" And Chris turns and goes, "Hi," name I can't remember. And he goes, "Have you met my friend Jody?" And I go, "Hi, it's nice to meet you." And that, it's the weirdest thing in the world because so going further back in time, I have really, really bad social anxiety. I always have. I didn't realize I had it, but I always have. Uh, and part of it manifests in the idea that I've never had a lot of friends. Like I was unpopular. I was unpopular everywhere I have ever been in my entire life. I was always been uncool. I've always been unpopular. Right from like kindergarten, I've always been a bully magnet. I've always been unpopular, and I never had many friends. When I was really, really young, we lived in Arizona. I had technically two friends. I had one, this kid named Jason, who like a week before we left got hit by a car. He lived, by the way, but that messed me up majorly. And then this other girl named Paige, because her mom and my mom were really close, and so we were friends with them. I have no idea what happened to Paige. I haven't seen her. Can't find her on Facebook. Nowhere. So I have no idea whatever happened to her. When I moved to Wisconsin, immediately became part of the Outcasts of Society group. But I did get adopted by a little group of friends. But I never spent any time with any of them aside from my best friend, Kevin, who I still keep in contact with, not often. But like he'll show up my streams every so often. And I'll go, Clickstar, hey, because that's what he called me. We won't talk about what he called me, but I called him Clickstar. So anyway, and he was like my only like real friend for most of my life. And when we get like the way that my friendships work is I always just assumed that people tolerated me and they were too polite to just tell me to go away, because when we got outside my group of friends, no one had any problem telling me that they hated me, that I was worthless and disgusting, and I needed to go away. And then I remember in the 7th grade, something happened in school and I became like a persona non grata, or non grata. And the entirety of my friend group, aside from my best friend, just abandoned me. Didn't want anything to do with me. And so from that point on, it was, I had kind of learned the idea that I don't have friends other than Kevin. I don't get to have friends. There's something inherently wrong with me that people just don't like, and every so often I can worm my way into a group if I'm, if I'm nice enough, if I'm funny enough, if I can make it so I'm relatively pleasant, they won't kick me out immediately. So yeah, and that's how it's been my entire life. I've always felt like an outsider. I've always been absolutely terrified to introduce anyone as, hey, this is my friend, because I'm always terrified that I'm going to go, this is my friend. They're going to go, well, I mean, we work together, or we hang out, but we're not really friends. Because I've had that happen to me. And so for years I would just go, oh, this is a buddy of mine, or I'd be very, very afraid to use the word for friend, because I was always so terrified of someone going, we're not friends. I let you hang around, but we're not friends. And so having someone that I consider a hero introduce me, oh, have you met my friend Jody? Like, I sincerely doubt Chris Perkins meant anything, but I think he was just being nice. It's because he is a genuinely nice person. But it was, he could not have he could not have affected me any more profoundly doing anything. Like if he had just gone, hey, do you want to work for Wizards of the Coast, and gave me a job right then, or put me on stage with Acquisitions Incorporated and let me join the group, it could not have been more profound than him just introducing me. Hey, have you met my friend Jody? And that's just the kind of guy he is. He's just a genuinely kind, caring, wonderful person. And it really, really sucks that he's no longer going to be influencing everyone at Wizards of the Coast with just how amazing that he is. Again, not saying that it's a bad thing he retired. He deserves to retire. He's done so much. He's worked his ass off. He 100% deserves to retire. But hot damn if it's not sad. So anyway, this is a Chris Perkins appreciation video. So in the comments, if you've ever met him, if you have a story involving him, whatever it is, say something nice about Chris Perkins in the comments down below, because he's an amazing, wonderful person. Mr. Perkins, if for some odd reason you accidentally find your way here, first of all, you need to make better choices in your life, because there's significantly better things you could be doing than listen to me ramble on. But from one D&D nerd to another, you literally changed my life. The person I am today would not exist were it not for the things that you created. Thank you. It's all for me today. See you guys next time. All right. Bye-bye.